Welcome to the Manufacturing Shakeup. We're your hosts, Ellen Feldman-Ornato
and Jenny Drescher. We're talking with dynamic women from across the manufacturing scene in Connecticut.
Hey friends, are you one of the thousands of people out there when you get feedback about something great that you've done, you tend to think, are they talking about me? And minimize how good you are at something? Sometimes we call that imposter syndrome. Are you one of those people? Because today we're going to hit that right on the nose. Our guest today is Adrienne Henry from RayGinn Manufacturing. Hey, Adrienne, welcome to the Shakeup.
Hello, it's nice to meet you both.
Nice to meet you too. When we were speaking with you before we got into the podcast and in our notes, it says something like, you have constantly seemed to be coming back to a theme of imposter syndrome. So what does that mean to you? And what strategies have you started to employ to set that aside?
So imposter syndrome is like when you just can't believe that you are doing as well as other people tell you. There's always this thought in the back of your mind that no matter how well you do, you're not doing as best as you can. And it feels like you don't deserve to be where you are in the position that you are. And what I do to try and curb those thoughts is I have to believe what people tell me. Because people tell me that I am doing well, and you can see throughout my schooling, I have good grades and I'm doing well. My professors will tell me I'm doing well. My instructors in high school tell me I'm doing well. My boss will tell me I'm doing well. So I have to believe what they are saying and believe that they know and see what I'm doing is good and that I'm actually doing good work and that I do deserve to be in a position that I am in and I do deserve to be doing the work that I do, which it sounds kind of like, obviously, you should believe the people you're saying, but sometimes it's just hard because it's like, are they just saying that just because, or is it because it's what they're actually seeing and what they believe, and they believe in me and believe in what I'm doing?
I can so relate to this, Adrienne, and I'm really grateful to you for being game for this topic for us, because it's a conversation that I think we need to be having more in our culture and in our society. And I think it's super important for younger folks, people in their 20s, in their early career stage, to have ways to think about and address the stuff that comes up, the thing you just described about, I like to call them the mind meanies. Like when mine come up, those are my mind meanies, right? It's these things like, oh, that can't be true about me, or, oh, thanks, I'm glad I did enough. But still in the back of my skull, there's this thing that's going, yeah, but it wasn't as good as it could have been.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that sounds very much like what you are bumping into as you're advancing in your career. So believe it when people tell you seems like a great strategy. I'm wondering also, one thing that is cool about your work is that you get to be very hands-on in what you do, right? Like, you're a maker, you get to make things and put them together. How does that help you build your confidence?
That helps a lot, actually, because the way I work at work is they give me a print and then I choose the stock and I make the program and I run it myself. So since I'm the one doing all the process from beginning to end, when I get the finished product and it's how it's supposed to be, it's within tolerance, it looks how it's supposed to look. And then they send it off to the customer and then there's no complaints from the customer. It's like, I did that and I made that part and it works and it's what it's supposed to be. So that helps instill confidence that I can do the things that I've been learning and that I do a good job.
Mm.
I love the physical evidence of that, right?
Yeah, tangible proof, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's visible proof, which so often, I think we can't underestimate the value of that, because so often, right, we're living in the information age. So where do we get to have the evidence of our success is a very murky kind of question. How do we do so? want to build on this idea of that you get to see the physical things that you do, but you've been making stuff a long time. You started in really in your manufacturing career at the very tender age of 14. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I went to Cheney Tech in Manchester, and I chose precision machining as my shop. And I originally went to Cheney because I wanted to do welding. And Cheney, at the time, I think they still are the only school who offers welding.
Mm-hmm.
And but the choice for me was between Print and Cheney. And I chose to go to Prince at first because I went to the open house and I saw their manufacturing space, and I wanted to go there. But then I realized I wanted to do welding really. So I called the school a bunch of times, me, 14 years old, calling up the school and trying to get them to call back. I'm like, I want to go to Cheney. I really want to do welding. Can I please go to Cheney? I really want to do welding. And then someone at the school ended up contacting my mom, and they were like, we would love to have Adrienne come to Cheney. So then I ended up going to Cheney. And funny thing, first day, apparently, technically, I wasn't supposed to be there because I guess Prince didn't release me. So I was still a Prince Tech student, and I didn't have a locker or anything at Cheney yet. But I go to Cheney. I go through exploratory, which is where they make you go through all 11 shops as a freshman so you can choose which one you want to do. And I go through and I get through precision machining. And I'm like, I really like this. This is fun. Using manual machines. We made, the first thing we made was a bat. And looking back at it, it wasn't the best bat in the world, but it was just so much fun to make.
When you say a bat, do you mean like a bat, like a flying creature, or do you mean like a bat,
like a baseball
bat?
A baseball. So what did you make it out of?
Aluminum. It was a little bat. It was like this long.
Oh my God, that's so fun. Do you still have it?
Yeah, I do. It's in a box somewhere in my house.
There you go. It's interesting. So at 14, you picked up the phone and you reached out to the school that you wanted to go to until they got back to your parents.
Yes.
So I see a thread of persistence that's starting at the age of 14. How has that persistence supported you as you've grown through your career?
It's supported me a lot because going through, you have to be persistent. When I got my first job at Panera, I was calling them after I submitted my application because I wanted to make sure that they got my application. And I called the next day. I was like, hey, my name is Adrienne. I submitted an application. I want to know if you got it. And they're like, yeah, we'll call you back tomorrow and we'll let you know when the interview is. And then I called again the next day and I was like, hey, this is Adrienne. You said you would call me for an interview. Then they're like, yep, I was just about to call you just now. And then I got the interview for that. And then persistence in class. You want to keep persisting in doing more projects and doing more work and learning more, because when you do good and you learn, the instructors will notice. And because I was persistent and I was doing well in class, my instructor was working very hard to help me get a job because he wanted to see me thrive and work in the industry and actually get a job for work-based learning. And it was a little bit hard because during that time it was COVID, so we were in lockdown. But we got a new instructor, and he was the one who helped me get the job I have now because my boss was his friend in high school.
So actually, you were really active and activated, and you prompted that from another human being, right? That's worth noticing because, when we're active, when we're putting out that energy of pursuit and perseverance, and we're in the right environment, other people will give that back. And that seems really important for a lot of our younger listeners who are trying to figure out how to navigate their career, is go after it, right? Mm-hmm. And so since you've been at your job now a few years, how has your company been able to match and mirror your let's do this, go after it energy? Like, what do you like so much about RayGinn that they like, what do they do that helps? How do they keep up with you? That's what I'm asking.
That's the question.
Well, it's because they're a small company, you have to learn everything. So in the beginning, it was awesome because I wanted to learn how to run the CNC machines and how to program. So they would I would first learn how to just push a button on the machine, make the machine go. And then it'll eventually go up to now you will learn how to put the tools in a tool holder, and you'll learn how to put the tools in the machine and touch off the machine, which is the next thing to learn. And then I go watch my boss program things. So now I'm seeing the process of programming to make the parts and making sure to choose the right tool paths and the right tooling and the right depth and things. And then I'm the one who's going to start making the programs. I start simple. I'll make a block with some holes in it. I'll make something with a simple profile. And then it just keeps building on and on. And because they're small and they do get a good amount of inventory coming in, there's always something new to do. So I learned how to program for 3-axis, and then I learned how to program for 5-axis. And then I start doing more complicated things, and I start holding tighter tolerances. So there's always something new that I'm learning, and it's always a new challenge to face.
So are they a company that does small runs for shops? Small runs of pieces?
It depends. Like last week, I was doing 4 pieces per order, but this week I'm doing 100 pieces.
Okay. So there's a lot of variation too, and the quantity and the complexity. That's cool.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's all, you mentioned also in our pre-call that they're very supportive to you as a student. So, a lot of our listeners are folks who are, they're in management and leadership inside manufacturing facilities of many, many sizes. What are they doing that is working well for you because you're pursuing your education and you're also a learner at your company? What's RayGinn doing well that you could talk about for a minute to help some of our listeners understand how they might help their employees that are learners?
What I appreciate so much from them is that they are so flexible with me while I'm in school, because they do want to see me graduate and they do want to see me excel and get my degree. So when I pick my classes for the semester, I do try to make it so that I can work as much as possible without stressing myself out. But they let me choose my hours while I'm in the semester, which is so helpful because I need to work while I'm in school because I am paying it for myself, and I'm trying to graduate without any debt. So being able to choose my hours and being able to work what I need and being able to go there and not have to worry about, am I going to be overworked or am I not going to be able to do anything while I'm in school, or is it going to be too stressful? It just helps so much. The flexibility allows me to go to school, get my work done, go to work, and learn while I'm in school and learn while I'm in work.
And not turn into a crispy French fried toasty person, right? Like not burn out your brain. That's a really big deal, actually. And I'm so happy you said that. And I hope our employers out there are listening, because it's not just about flexibility. I was just at a conference last week for women in manufacturing, and one of the topics that came up was this whole, how do we do flexibility to help folks the exact way you're talking about, help with going to school or having a life. And this subtlety of, it's not just that they're being flexible, it's that they want to help set me up so that I can thrive as a student and I can thrive as a worker. And it sounds like RayGinn is getting a lot of things right in helping you to strike that balance so that you can do both of those things well, instead of tipping that balance into, well, that's nice that you're going to school and we're going to flex your hours, but you still better produce. Like, that's a really beautiful thing. So heads up, friends out there who are trying to figure some of this out. Notice what they're doing for really smart folks like Adrienne over at RayGinn.
Yeah. And a question for you is, when you think about what's next, when you think about like what's on the horizon, what are you curious about? What do you hope to achieve? And how do you start turning down the mind? What did you call that, Jenny? Your mind junk?
Mind meanies.
Like when you start to think about what's next and then the next big step, how are you intercepting those messages from the mind meanies? What are you telling yourself?
I'm telling myself, because I do think about the future a lot, and I do think about what I'm going to do next after I graduate and what's going to happen. Because I have other goals too. I want to buy a house when I'm done in school and get a nice job, stay at RayGinn if I can. But to keep down the mind meanies, I have to tell myself I have time and I do not have to rush. And it is okay to be in today and not think about tomorrow. It is okay to not know what's going to happen in the future.
Staying present in the present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Great.
I love that so much, especially because so this is a note for the subtlety of what you're saying is I have time. I don't have to rush. It's okay to, like, I just heard you say, it's okay to blank. It's okay to blank. One of the beliefs that we here have at the Shakeup is this idea of how much permission can we give ourselves to be who we are, because that's how we thrive at work. And so when you're using this really powerful language of it's okay to be here now, you're giving yourself so much juicy self permission. So anybody else out there, if you've got those same mind meetings that we're all talking about, I invite you to tune into this. It's okay too, because the highest source of our own permission is ourselves. And that's what you're modeling so beautifully, Adrienne. I love that. Yeah. I have about 1,000 shakeup factors today, friends. So listen up, because here's what I've got. I've got one, what is the physical evidence of your success and your value? So in Adrienne's case, she's got some physical evidence, and she's allowing herself and her thinking and her mental well-being to be informed by what she sees in her environment that is physical evidence of her success. I think we can all take a strong note from that about where am I letting myself see the physical evidence of my own success in any venture, whether it's, maybe it's, hey, my floor is clean because I vacuumed. Point two that I'm jumping out, shakeup factor 2 here, is really pursuing and persevering in what you want, which I know sounds very obvious on the surface, but what you'll notice about Adrienne, what jumped out at me, is this sort of like doggedness where she has just been going after it in a steady way. Like, I want this, so I'm going to keep calling. I want this, so I'm going to keep calling. I want this, so I'm going to keep learning. And it is not just that she's persevered, but friends, you may have noticed that Adrienne is a little more reserved. She's a little bit more introverted. And sometimes out in the field, there's this mistaken idea that an introverted person is not going to go after it the same way. And this woman is living proof that that is a complete and total myth. So Adrienne, thank you for modeling that is a complete and total myth, because you are still a rock star. You're just doing it in your own way. You're being a rock star in how you perform and in how you learn, but you're not big and loud about it. So there's plenty of room, friends, for all that. And then for our employers, shakeup factor 3 is think about how you're doing that flexibility. Are you making room for that human in your workplace to thrive in all the ways that ultimately come around to positive health for them, for you, and for your company? Because it's all of those factors together are how we make up our flexibility. So, Adrienne Henry, it's just been a delight to talk with you. I learned so much from you today.
Thank you, Adrienne.
Both too.
All right. The Manufacturing Shakeup is sponsored by the Connecticut Office of Manufacturing, produced by Maselli Productions and Gale Communications, and hosted by the Boulder Company.